Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily. Amber Heard takes the stand in the defamation case with ex-husband Johnny Depp.
I didn't care in that moment if he did kill me, which was likely in confronting him at that stage of our lives. I didn't even care anymore. At this moment, he had already ripped my heart out.
Plus,
it became clear to me he was like looking for something, proceeds to do a cavity search.
Heard recounts an alleged sexual assault incident early on in a relationship with Depp. And Depp's attorney have a powerful reaction when Heard mentions Kate Moss.
I just, in my head, instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him.
But first, Heard says Depp sexually assaulted her with a liquor bottle.
It wasn't him, it was black. I've never been so scared in my life.
Law&Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. As week 4 of the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial comes to a close, not only are we bringing you the top highlights from this week in court, but we're also breaking down how each side testified to those events. For the first time, we're hearing from defendant Amber Heard, who took the stand on Wednesday. Her testimony comes as part of a multi-million-dollar defamation suit stemming from Heard's 2018 Washington Post op-ed about domestic violence. While Depp was never mentioned in the article, he argues readers know he was publicly linked to Heard. Depp filed a $50 million lawsuit against his ex-wife, claiming damages. But Heard shot back with a $100 million suit, doubling down on her domestic violence claims. On Thursday, she told jurors about the night Depp's fingertip was cut off. We want to warn you, the next clip will cover the topic of sexual assault with an account of such by Amber Heard while she took the stand. We understand this can be difficult to watch, so viewer discretion is advised.
I felt this pressure. On my pubic bone. He thought he was punching me. I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving, and it looked like he was punching me. But I could just feel this pressure. It was like it kept hitting him. It didn't feel pain. It was just a pressure on my pubic bone, and I remember looking at all the broken bottles, broken glass, and I remember that it's just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken.
Heard testified she took sleeping pills after the incident and woke up to find Depp's fingertip missing and the Australian house covered in paint and blood. While on the stand last month, Depp told a different story about how his fingertip was cut.
She threw the large bottle and it made contact and shattered everywhere. And I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. I felt no pain whatsoever. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt heat, and I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, you know. And then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed, and I was looking directly at my bones.
Joining us today is civil rights attorney Joe Richardson and co-host Terry Austin. Joe, Depp has to prove by a preponderance, or more than 50%, that Heard's claim of domestic abuse are false. How does he do that with these two stories, especially where Heard says she was asleep for most of it?
You have to, when you're dealing with defamation, you're talking about a false statement of purported fact. And so you can't get around the notion that you have to look at common sense and the extent to which other things, testimony of other people and things like that, could potentially shed some light on the jury as to whether or not this actually happened, or in Depp's case, didn't happen as he says that it didn't happen. It's not an easy thing because none of us were there, but I think you have to look at the surrounding facts, including what other witnesses would have to say, and see whether or not it comports with our traditional notions of common sense.
All right, corroboration seems to be the name of the game here. Terry, it seems like Heard is claiming either she doesn't remember or she was sound asleep when most of this mayhem occurred that evening. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, domestic violence is a very serious allegation, but Amber Heard is simply just not credible. March 8th was a very unforgettable day. A lot happened that day. Depp lost the tip of his finger. She's claiming that he sexually assaulted her, but for some reason, she doesn't remember anything but the sexual assault. She doesn't remember that she threw bottles, or she said she threw it and it fell in front of her. She says that he threw all these bottles at her. So I think it's just not credible that she took these sleeping pills and then she woke up the next day and all of a sudden she recognized that he lost his fingertip and she thought he must have done it while he was smashing the phone. Not credible.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out on cross-examination. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, our Johnny Depp and Amber Heard coverage continues. Amber Heard admits to getting physical with Johnny Depp, but does her story... Welcome back. We're looking closer now at testimony by Amber Heard. On Thursday, she told jurors she got physical with Depp for the first time after he took a swing at her sister.
Whitney, my sister, all of a sudden put herself in between Johnny and I. She just threw herself like in the line of fire or whatever. She just all of a sudden was there and was trying to get Johnny to stop. Her back was to the staircase and Johnny swings at her. And I just see my little sister with her back her back to the staircase, and Johnny swings at her, and I don't even wait for any other, I don't hesitate, I don't wait, I just in my head instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him. In all of my relationship to date with Johnny, I hadn't landed a blow. And I, for the first time, hit him.
Heard's testimony comes just 3 days after Depp's security guard and a witness of the fight told a different story about that same fight.
I felt it was time to get Mr. Depp out of the situation, so I stepped in between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp, telling Mr. Depp that we were leaving and that it wasn't up to him anymore. At that point, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fist and an arm come across my right shoulder, and I heard and saw a closed fist contact Mr. Depp in the left side of his face.
And whose fist was that?
That was Miss Heard's fist, Amber Heard's fist.
Well, in fact, you saw Mr. Depp push or shove Whitney Heard, correct?
Absolutely not.
And it was only after Mr. Depp pushed Whitney that Amber stepped forward and punched him in the face. Isn't that right?
That is not correct.
Eagle Eye fans took note that during Heard's testimony about the argument, Depp's attorney can be seen giving a fist pump at the mention of Depp's ex-girlfriend, Kate Moss. Take a look.
I just in my head instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him. I just in my head instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him.
Terry, Depp previously described himself as a Southern gentleman. Do you think the jury believes he would punch a woman?
You know what? The evidence so far just doesn't support that theory. Here's what the evidence supports so far, Brian, as far as I'm concerned. Depp is a very generous man. He's very kind to all the people around him, whether they're working for him or not. It does show that he drinks a lot. He has a high tolerance for alcohol. He smokes cigarettes and marijuana, but his disposition doesn't change. And when he yells, he gets angry and he does curse and he does hit cabinets. But so far, the evidence just doesn't support that he would hit a woman. He hasn't done it in the past. We haven't seen that. And so, no, I don't think he would hit a woman, and I don't think the jury thinks he would either.
Yeah. Now, Joe, I want to see if you can make heads or tails of this for us, because Heard alluded to an abusive moment between Depp and ex-girlfriend Kate Moss, but Depp's team got pretty excited about that. What could that mean?
Well, it means that they think that she has opened the door to Kate Moss potentially testifying. And so once she brings something in the issue, now can come in at the very least to impeach what it is that she's saying. And so therefore it allows him to do two things. First of all, there's a public information war here and a public PR war. It helps him with the public. It reminds them that potentially if she testifies in his favor, that he's a good guy. And if he's a good guy and she's the bad guy, it makes it more possible that in fact she is defaming him. And therefore it gets him towards the way to winning the case.
Yeah, I believe like this relationship was back in the early to mid 90s, and there may be public statements that he never abused her. Maybe those public statements can be used to impeach her. Of course, we'll see as that trial resumes in the days coming. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, our coverage continues of Amber Heard's testimony in the defamation case against Johnny Depp. The actress tells her side of the story of an incident between the two exes on a flight, plus what Depp's friend testified to weeks ago. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. More now on the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, as Heard takes the stand. On Thursday, she told jurors about an alleged incident on an airplane, one they already heard about from other witnesses.
And he starts throwing things at me, ice cubes, utensils. He's calling me a go-getter and then an embarrassment, talking about what an embarrassment I am. He sits down in front of me at one point and he slaps my face. And his friend is in our proximity. It was the first time that anything like that had happened in front of somebody. I got up to move again and he's just taunting me, having a laugh, screaming, and then just straight up mean, calling me names. As I get up, he kind of kicks the swivel chair into my hip, kind of just hits me. And I look at him and he asks me, what are you gonna do about it? I just stared at him. It felt like there was a blackness in his eyes. As I'm walking away, he tells me to hurry the up. And I just look at him one more time, wanting to penetrate the monster to see the man that I love underneath that.
2 weeks ago, jurors heard from Keenan Wyatt, a friend of Depp's, who also works as a Hollywood sound engineer. Wyatt told jurors his side of the story on that flight from Boston to Los Angeles.
What, if any, conversation did you have with Ms. Heard on the flight?
At one point, I went up to her and said something to the effect of, you know, he cares about you. And all of a sudden, she snapped and started yelling at me. I went back to a seat and minded my own business.
When she said those things to you, would you describe the tone of her voice, if you remember it?
She was abruptly loud. It was a quiet plane. All of a sudden, it got very loud.
You get on the airplane, and it's your testimony that Ms. Heard had a bad tone of voice with Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
She had a bad tone of voice with me.
Wasn't Mr. Depp saying pretty horrible things to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall that.
Terry, Heard said that Depp kicked her in the back and knocked her off her feet. Do you think she needs to bring a witness or something else to corroborate her story?
Absolutely. And we were talking about this earlier. You're going to have someone who supports what she has to say. We've seen that Depp's security team and others around him have supported his version of these stories. She's saying that she fell down and that he kicked her in the back and no one helped her. Those are some serious allegations. Maybe no one helped her because it didn't happen. Maybe no one helped her because she wasn't injured. So I think if she's going to prove that allegation, she's going to have to bring someone who supports exactly what she has to say. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, Joe, Heard has already laid the groundwork for attacking these witnesses in the op-ed, her story about Depp holding this dog out of the window, and others that Depp's team either looks the other way or covers up for him. So do you think that this witness, McGurven, was doing that?
There's an argument that he was, but again, I think where you have to go is, and the totality of the witnesses, the totality of the evidence that's presented, the surrounding situations, issues, the things that give you context, is what Amber Heard's saying ringing true? Does it make sense? Does it follow logic that absolutely no one seems to corroborate it, whereas Mr. Depp's situation is corroborated on some level? None of us were there, and there's a possibility of either way. There's certainly a highly dysfunctional relationship, but does that take him necessarily to the point of being an abuser? Not necessarily, but she's going to have, like Terry says, to show some other things for him to be less believable in the totality.
All right, we'll see how it continues as more testimony rolls in. When we come back, more on Amber Heard's direct examination in the defamation trial with ex-husband Johnny Depp. Up next, Depp versus Heard, testimony on an incident early in the couple's relationship. Welcome back. Continuing our coverage of the Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard defamation trial. Amber Heard took the stand for the first time Wednesday, recalling an incident she says happened while the couple visited the Hicksville Trailer Palace in 2013. Again, we do want to warn you this clip covers the topic of sexual assault, which can be difficult to hear, so viewer discretion is advised.
When the MDMA hit her, she kind of, we were sitting around a campfire, all of us, and she kind of just leaned into me and put her, head on my shoulder and kind of grabbed my arm. Johnny gets really activated. He gets really upset. It seemed like he turned all that rage onto the trailer itself. He hit with his hand a wall sconce. He comes into the bedroom area. It became clear to me he was looking for something. I kind of gestured to him and I said, what am I hiding and where am I gonna hide it? He's grabbing my breasts. He's touching my thighs. He rips my underwear off. He was telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we? Just shoved his fingers inside me. Just stood there staring at the stupid light.
When Johnny Depp was on the stand, he gave his own account of what led up to the argument on their trip.
And so you removed Kelly Sue's hand from Amber and you yelled at Kelly Sue and told her that Amber was your girl, right?
That's not correct.
That's not correct?
No, sir.
After this incident, you went back into the trailer that you and Miss Heard were sharing. You had an argument with Miss Heard and you understood her to be upset with the way that you had handled that situation with Kelly Sue, correct?
I mean, I recall that was a part of the argument. I was protecting Miss Heard's honor and I was protecting my girl.
You would agree with me, Mr. Depp, that at a minimum you smashed up a bathroom sconce during that argument, correct?
Yes, sir. I punched a bathroom sconce.
So, Joe, Depp has to prove this cavity search, the sexual assault allegation, is false. As part of the way to win this case, what facts do you think his lawyers will use to argue that?
Well, again, our challenge is we have to actually believe actors, right? Which of the actors do we believe? What's real and what's fake? And they're going to have to point to her lack of credibility to say implicitly or from that, deducting from that in fact, he is credible and therefore the assaults that are being alleged did not happen. That's not necessarily an easy thing. He might be winning the public war outside in PR, but whether he's winning the war with a jury is a separate thing. But again, the other witnesses really help. And how much this comports with common sense and this connects with what's going on, if they don't believe her, they are more likely to believe him.
Makes sense. Terry, Heard admitted that she took MDMA in Hicksville. Could that affect the jury's opinion about Heard's recollection of the events?
Absolutely, no question about it. You know, MDMA is commonly called ecstasy, and it is a drug. It's used primarily for recreational purposes, and Amber testified to that. And what it does is that it relaxes you, it enhances and alters your sensations, and a jury could absolutely believe that her recollection of what occurred was based on her drug use. Clearly, domestic violence, as I said earlier, is very, very serious. But I think they could believe that because she took a drug, that it is altering her perception of what actually happened that day.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Taryn. And of course, I know she took like mushrooms and MDMA, so that all could affect that there. Well, thank you both, and thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.